So good afternoon. I think this education session follows on really nicely from the discussion that you just had with Susie about entrepreneurship. So we'll get into that a little bit as we go along. So first of all, my name is Dagg, and I've been looking at creative education in the partner regions, but primarily on the island of Ireland over the last while. So in this presentation, I just want to draw your attention to or touch on four areas. I want to draw attention to what we mean when we talk about education for the creative industries. I want to give a little background on general EU context of higher education institutions, and then give examples of creative education from the partner regions. And then I'm going to go into what I've been looking at primarily in Ireland and outline the creative education infrastructure that we have in this country or on this island, and then of course make some recommendations. So historically, I suppose you can say education and its attendant institutions have been at the forefront of managing, creating, and institutionally structuring our culture. According to UNESCO, learning activities support the development, understanding, and reception of culture, including processes of critique, for example, art and dance schools, literary criticism. Education is the process by which culture is transmitted between generations. It's also the means whereby people learn to appreciate or form value judgments, for instance, a critique about cultural activities and products. Education is also a process of socialization by which culture is imparted and develops creativity that can challenge existing cultural norms. So one of the crucial ways of addressing the potential growth of the creative economy is through our higher education systems. As you've heard here today, cultural consumption has been increasing dramatically over the last number of years into a high-value growth area, or culture and creativity becoming a high-value growth area that require the nurturing of creative talent. So particular attention is beginning to focus on the transferability of arts graduate skill sets to other sectors. So linking the significance of linking art disciplines with disciplines of the social science, business management, technology, and the natural sciences. So nurturing creative talent in terms of education for the creative economy has come to be understood as embedding skills of creativity, entrepreneurship, and technical ability. So not only ensuring that graduates are equipped with such skills as problem solving, team orientation, vision, and daring, which are all essential criteria, but also knowing the various elements to go about setting up their own business for their creative practice, perhaps, or to know how to interact and promote themselves through networks, or how to manage a project. So just in terms of general EU context, we can say that in 2010, the EU 27 had around 4,000 higher education institutions with almost 20 million students. So many higher education policies across Europe at the present are indicating that they're at a point of transition. The number of people entering the systems is growing, and the profile of their students are changing. And we can see this a particular focus on education and training in the EU 2020 strategy, which is the EU's overarching program focusing on growth and jobs. And they've set two targets that are relevant to national education contexts in relation to education and training, that 3% of GDP is to be invested in R&D, and that the EU third level education attainment for 30 to 34-year-olds is set at 40%. And just to give a perspective of where Ireland is in that, we in 2012 we invest less than 2% in R&D, but we've set our 30, but we're at 51% of 30 to 34-year-olds on third level education, and we've actually unique in setting our target at 60%, we're hoping by 2020. And just in relation to the employment rate in the creative industries in Europe and to the potential for graduates, in 2009 creative and cultural industry firms employed a total of 6.4 million people in 30 European countries. So just to look briefly at what's happening in the partner regions, and choosing Finland as an example, it has one of the highest level educational attainments among the OECD countries. 39% of its adult population hold a third level qualification, and in the same year, in 2011, its employment rate for people with all levels of education was 75%. So in terms of creative education, Finland has had regional centres of expertise developing since 1994, and in response to its regional innovation policy. So this has resulted in 22 centres that play a vital role in regional development, which interact with the educational field. More recently, in 2010, Finland officially launched the merger of 3 of its major universities in technology, art and design, and economics to form the Aalto University in Helsinki. And this interlinks importantly with the Helsinki School of Creative Entrepreneurship, which supports spin-off activity and develops dialogue between industry and academia. And we can also see at a policy level how it's focusing on creative education. Its current Ministry of Education and Culture strategy for 2020 has as one of its key foci the production and use of creative culture, development of new learning and action paradigms, identification of new creativity and talent reserves, the promotion of self-motivated action, and the development of interaction networks which promote knowledge and creativity. So creative education, as we understand it for the creative industries, is very much at the forefront of its policy focus in terms of culture and education. And just on another level, I want to draw your attention to Northern Ireland and its efforts to maintain dialogue between industry and academia. The National Skills Academy for Creative and Cultural Sector is a network of education and industry partners that work together to improve the provision of skills and training for the creative and cultural industries. So it provides programs such as apprenticeships, it provides advice and career guidance for creative careers. It undertakes research and analysis on the skills needs for the industry, and it supports the creative sector to set the standards of high quality work for the industry. And then, of course, it runs interesting seminars and discussions through the Northern Ireland Design Alliance. So it's very much an active network of the various partners, as we've been saying here today, that are needed to support the trajectory of education and the trajectory of education for the creative industries. It also has something called the Creative Skill Set TIC, which was conceived as a kite mark of quality, which is accredited to courses by industry to allow potential employers identify students with the best qualifications. So they found that there was abundance of media courses. So how does an employer identify a media course that it feels has the correct qualifications, the graduates coming out with the correct skill sets that they need? Well, industry have accredited courses, and you have to earn a kite mark or a creative skill set TIC, and to try and ensure that the skills are embedded in the graduate. So my work on the infrastructure on the island of Ireland, the creative education infrastructure, was based or premised on this hypothesis that if the creative economy is growing by X and creative employment by Y, how prepared is our creative education infrastructure to supply graduates for such creative economy growth? So to look at this, we developed a database on level 8 courses relevant to the creative economy and broke them down by province to look at the distribution of courses in Ireland, or on the island of Ireland. And you can see that, for instance, Connacht has 4%. I'm going to try this red thing, it does work. So it has 4% of creative courses on the island of the west of Ireland, and Leinster or the east of Ireland has 30%, while the north or Ulster has 54%, and we can see that Munster, the south of Ireland, has 12%. So we can say that the north and the east fare much better in comparison to the provision of creative courses in the west and south of Ireland. We also kind of categorise these courses in terms of application, expression and technology to look again at the distributions among the regions. So for instance, of the 54% of courses available in the north of Ireland, 33% relate to application, 40% of courses are based around expression, and 7% were in relation to technology. We also looked at the number of courses with industry links. And we can say that less than half the courses that we identified had industry links. Again, the majority of these were in Ulster with 79 courses, but as we've seen from the previous slides, Ulster has a number of creative courses, so the industry links actually tend to overlap. So it seems like they have quite a lot, but they tend to overlap. While the rest of Ireland ranges from 7 industry links down to 1. And we also looked at First Destination Graduate Survey, and this is a compulsory survey that's undertaken in the universities and institutes of their graduates, their students 9 months to 12 months after they've graduated. So this data was obtained on request from the universities and institutions that ran the courses that we identified. So while higher education institutions individually monitor and present the development of their graduates from their creative courses, this data is not reflected at a government level in reports by the HEA or government bodies like Forfos that monitor Ireland's skills needs. So, however, from our analysis, we can say that graduates with creative qualifications are 4 times more likely to start their own business while also finding work in traditional industries, for example, engineering and information services. And this is part of the transferability of their skills and what's becoming known as the transdisciplinarity of their actual embedding of those skills. And those trained in creative economy pursuits are less likely to be looking for a job after graduation than those qualified with degrees, or the population as a whole, as reflected by the unemployment rate. So even if they go looking for jobs and don't find one, they tend to set up their own businesses. So just want to draw out 2 issues and recommendations from this presentation and from the research. Firstly, there is a disconnect between the needs of the creative industries and what the third level courses are teaching, with the recommendation that industry links need to be encouraged between creative businesses and higher education institutions. And I think that's something that very much came out in the last kind of interactive discussion that we just had, and no doubt Anitra and Simon's presentations will draw on examples of what can be done. And just another issue of creative education is not reflected or accounted for on a government level. And this comes from the FDR data. The government reports on education need to take into account the data from the FDR survey that reflects our creative courses. So a lot can be done with that data that at the moment is stagnant. So that's what I have to say. Thank you very much.